All right, our top focus we're on right now. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberal Party has won the federal election and is now set to form Canada's next government. But it's not yet clear if they would hold a majority in Parliament. The Liberal Party has clinched a new term in power after Carney convincing voters that his experience managing economic crises prepared him to confront US President Donald Trump. After the win, the newly elected Prime Minister has said that his country should never forget the lessons of the United States' betrayal. Carney told cheering supporters in Ottawa that they will win this trade war, but he warned of challenging days ahead brought on by Trump's tariff and annexation threats.
The system of open global trade anchored by the United States, a system that Canada has relied on since the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped deliver prosperity for a country for decades, is over. These are tragedies, but it's also our new reality. We are over the shock of the American betrayal, but we should never forget the lessons.
Results show Liberals are far ahead of Conservatives, but have fallen short of 172 seat marks by 4 seats. Mark Carney has effectively managed to win the 4th Liberal term, while his Conservative rival Pierre Poilievre is poised to get only 144 seats. Counting is still underway, but it's highly unlikely that this trend will change. Pierre Poilievre has conceded the defeat. Congratulating Prime Minister Mark Carney, Poilievre said Canadians have opted for a razor-thin majority government.
Canadians have opted for a razor-thin minority government, a virtual tie in the vote count. So I would like to congratulate Prime Minister Carney on leading this minority government.
Meanwhile, Jagmeet Singh, who led Canada's opposition New Democratic Party in this election, has lost his own seat of Burnaby, conceding defeat. Singh announced that he now plans to step down from the position of party leader.
Tonight, I've informed our party leader that I'll be stepping down as party leader as soon as an interim leader can be appointed. Now, I could not have done this incredible job without, here's a point, give me a second to break down a bit. I couldn't have done it without the incredible support of my wife. Could get it?
US President Donald Trump's tariffs and threats of annexing Canada stood as the central issue in the elections. Trump inserted himself into the race early in the day with a social media post saying Canada would face zero tariffs if it becomes the cherished 51st state. Poilievre hit back firmly and said President Trump stay out of our election. Carney also weighed in, saying this is Canada and we decide what happens here. Remember, Carney replaced Justin Trudeau, who was the focus of opposition attacks about inflation, high immigration levels and a housing crisis. The 60-year-old ex-central banker had no prior political experience before running to become Liberal leader earlier this year. He billed himself as someone who knows how to negotiate and how to manage a crisis. Trump's involvement not only angered many Canadians, but also put Poilievre and the Conservative Party on the back foot.
Good afternoon all. Welcome to the bank's monetary.
Well, we earlier spoke to Mike Buckley, a senior journalist and political commentator from London, on the Trump factor in the Canadian elections. This is what he had to say.
Well, Trump has been instrumental in this election, and there's no doubt that had the election been held without Donald Trump being in office and without the attitude that he's had towards Canada, the right-wing party in Canada would have won. So the Liberal Party, Mark Carney's party, were incredibly unpopular last year. Then Donald Trump got elected and started threatening that he wanted to make Canada the 51st state of America, which obviously very greatly angered Canadian people who have no desire to become American. And because the right-wing candidate in the Canadian election was seen as being very close to Donald Trump politically, also a populist, also on the right, also an agitator, and somebody who was appealing to certain instincts in Canadian culture, that gave the Liberals the opportunity to come back. Another crucial factor was the resignation of the former Liberal Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, who'd been Prime Minister for almost 10 years. He was incredibly unpopular. When he finally resigned at the end of last year, that gave the Liberal Party the opportunity to put a new popular leader, Mark Carney, in place, who then had the chance to win the election. But he won the election by being very clear that he is opposed to Donald Trump, opposed to Donald Trump's policies, opposed to the economic tariffs, the trade tariffs that Donald Trump has brought in, and opposed to any suggestion that Canada would become America's 51st state. So the forthrightness and the bullishness and the clarity of Mark Carney's opposition to Donald Trump and his presidency and his policies is what has enabled him to win this election and enabled him to govern Canada and enabled the Liberal Party to govern Canada for an unprecedented fourth term into being.